The next day, they woke up. Vine was first one to slip out of the room, even though she was sure Jungkook had noticed her. Her way to the kitchen was quite confusing, but she was able to reach there with the help of a maid. The first thing her eyes laid on was a knife. Would she be able to slip it inside her clothes for her protection? But by the looks of it, she didn't think she could take anything from here without all these maids noticing. The maids asked her what she wanted to do and helped her along. In fact, did most of the work. One was not in the mood to make him breakfast or play happy wedding. She helped them set up the table and looked at the knives one last time and left the kitchen. The home itself was too big. Could she ever escape this place? She went back to her room and found Jungkook standing before the mirror right after the shower, applying oil over his torso. She hated to admit, but her mouth salivated there. He had those abs and biceps of a beast. The huge tattoo on his waist looked almost as attracting as he was. She nearly wanted to run her fingers over it. It may be she could. She was playing sweet wife after all. She joined her hands behind her and walked up to him with a curious expression. Vine, I never expected you using baby oil. Jungkook, I have a sensitive skin. Vine, almost like a baby. She grinned and he raised his brow. She swore it genuinely scared her. Vine, alright. I was kidding. The breakfast is ready. What are you wearing? She grabbed the shirt from the bed and stood behind him, helping him wear it, buttoning it up for him as well, including the front and the cuffs. Ryan, I'm waiting. Don't let it get cold. She left the room and Jungkook slipped his hands inside his pockets and tilted his head. A smirk appeared on his lips before he shook his head, taking his time getting ready, and then joined her for breakfast. They had their breakfast. Jungkook even appreciated her cooking, and when she blushed, it was not something she faked. She hated herself for that. Jungkook, I have to meet someone. Be ready at night, I'll take you for dinner, was what he said before leaving, and Wine's hunt had started. She left to her room and straight to close it. He had so many watches. If she sneaked one of them, he wouldn't know, right? One look on the internet and she knew she could survive her whole life with a single watch of his. Wine. Some people really have it all. During her hunt, she found a picture in a drawer which took her attention. It was an old picture with brown colors. There was a little boy, and she could tell it was Jungkook. He looked quite fierce even when he was a child. Beside him was a lady who had her arms wrapped around him in an annoyingly sweet way. Ryan chuckled. It looked like he was a tough one to get, getting annoyed over his mother's love and hugs. Reminds her she never asked him about his parents. She put the picture back in the drawer and left the watch there for now. Ryan, weren't you a cute kid? She was given a tour around the room by a maid. Later on, she took a little nap, deciding to enjoy her days of luxury for as long as she was here. Later at noon, the maids brought a whole collection of clothes, jewelry, bags, shoes, almost everything she could ever need, and even things she knew she was never going to touch. She picked one of those dresses and got ready for the dinner. When she stood before the mirror, she couldn't deny how amazing she looked and how much she was loving all of it. Her phone rang and it was her father. She didn't know why he was calling now, but she cut the call. He kept calling, and she kept cutting the calls. She couldn't even turn off her phone in case Jungkook left her a text or something. When she got annoyed, she picked it up. Wine, what is it that you want now? Dad, someone grew some wigs, it seems. Get me some money. Wine scoffed. He wasn't going to scare her anymore. As much as she wanted to run away from Jungkook, she couldn't deny how much his presence brought her peace and feeling of protection. Ryan, bold of you to assume that you are getting anything out of me anymore. Dad, don't forget I'm the one who got you him. I can ruin this as well. Before Ryan could reply, someone took the phone from her hand. It was Jungkook. She got so angry at her father, she didn't even realize when he returned. His arm went around her waist as he attended the call. Jungkook, keep your distance from my wife, Mr. Jong. I'm not a very nice person, especially when someone tries to disturb my woman. That will be your first and last warning. Ryan looked up at him and something bloomed inside of her. What was that feeling? No one has ever stood up to her. Then, why would he? Jungkook, I don't like to wait for the reply. She didn't know what happened after that. She didn't know what he said after that. He handed her the phone and said something, but she couldn't hear. Why? Why would someone stand up for her? She was nothing. Jungkook, I'm talking to you. He kissed her jaw and that's when she snapped out. Jungkook, give me 5 minutes. We will leave then. He left to the closet and somehow Wine's eyes teared up. She wasn't being dramatic, but she never had this feeling of warmth ever coming near her. This was so different. This was not planned. She took a few deep breaths, trying to calm herself until he came back and extended his hand. She took his hand ready to leave, but Jungkook hooked a beautiful diamond bracelet around her wrist. It was decent, but she knew it costed millions. Jungkook, I'm going to shower you with these. You looked so beautiful tonight. He held her chin and kissed the corner of her lips like last night. She knew he wanted her so bad. She also knew no other man who bought her would wait for her to get comfortable. Then why? He needed to stop, or she might have to break his heart. She needed to speed up her escape. She needed to run away somewhere so far away where even his shadow wouldn't reach her. To be continued.